We're at Frankfurt, runway 18, ready to take off with destination Slovenia, the LIPQ airport. Never been there before. This is an actual existing route from Lufthansa, and I always like to fly real life routes and their airplanes that fly it. In this case, it's actually a CRJ 900 that flies this route. So let's get this party going. There's a wind coming from the right, so I'm inputting a bit of left rudder. (100 knots) on our way to a bit unstable V1 and rotate. Positive climb, gear up. Pretty. That was some turbulence. 1,000 feet, so we will enable speed mode, nav mode, and then engage the autopilot. Let's get into climb mode and adapt speed to 220 knots, which is our speed limitation currently. 4,000 feet is our initial climb authorization. And flaps up. Reduce power. And once we are established on this leg here, we can increase the speed to 250 knots. Let's do that. To 250 knots and get back in climb mode. And increase our altitude, to our flight level 370, since we're not flying online. Oh, we're overspeeding. Not in speed mode. Okay. Now we are. Disable the taxi lights. Yeah, disable thrust reversers. And when we are reaching 10,000 feet, we'll release the passengers of their seatbelts. So there we go. Seatbelts. And let's disable all the lights, external lights. And increase our speed to the climb speed of 290. Go. And we should set the barometer to standard. Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now serving sandwiches.
So the main goal of this flight is I will be holding on the initial approach fix, and I've never actually been in a hold with this plane, so I want to find out how it works. I haven't looked it up online. So I know that I will be holding at Leira at this point here. Here, Leira. Just before we will enter, oh here this as well, before we will start our final approach. So the hold should be here. Yeah, it is. Inbound course of 88 degrees. That, yeah, corresponds with the holding pattern on the chart. hold at Leira. And I suppose that when I am in the hold, there should be an exit hold button somewhere. Oh, there's a second hold. Oh yeah, right. That's for the missed approach. So we'll see how that goes. I accidentally must have pushed a button. I'm not sure which one, but autopilot has been disengaged. Speed mode, nav mode. Autopilot is not engaging. Oh, we are in roll mode. Okay. Roll. Right. Oh, of course. The disconnect button. Back to climb mode. And we're back on track. I will decrease the climb speed a bit because reaching flight level 370 with this plane is slow. So actually the combination of speed mode, autopilot enabled, and the throttle detent in climb will make sure that the autopilot respects your set speed and then try to reach with that speed your assigned altitude. So you set your altitude, you set your wanted speed, you enable speed mode, nav mode, autopilot, throttle in climb detent, and then you more or less have an automatic climb. And then as you level off on your requested flight level 370, you switch throttle to manual, and then you have to keep the speed in check by managing the throttle yourself, because there is no auto throttle in the CRJ. It's fully manual. So if you're used flying with an Airbus or a Boeing, that is quite a change. And when you start flying with the CRJ, you will forget setting the throttle very often. So we will reach our top of descent in about 30 minutes in 223 miles. And the track miles to our destination is 235 miles, and we will reach that in 33 minutes. Our speed, our altitude has almost been reached. So now I'll have to keep an eye on the speed as we reach level off. I will increase speed again. To our cruise speed of 290 knots, which is maybe a little bit too fast. Yeah, because our limit is 280. So let's select 260 or something. Or, you know, let's stick to max speed. 80. Yep, that's fine. We will be overflying the Swiss Alps, if I'm not mistaken. Not really the Swiss ones, no. The Austrian ones, or whatever it's called. The plane is struggling to reach 370 flight level. So let's decrease speed a bit. So that we can reach our last few hundred feet. Yeah. Now altitude is captured. And now reduce throttle to about 84, I think. Yeah, that's good enough. Great, we'll be overflying Munich. I'm always interested to see where I'm flying and what I'm looking at. So this is Munich Airport. And I always forget to synchronize the heading bug. It is not that important during cruise, but when approaching, it becomes important, as at some point you will switch to heading mode, which means the autopilot will not follow your flight plan anymore, but the heading that you select, in order to be able to set your navigation source to the ILS frequency. So if you don't set your heading, if you don't synchronize your heading bug when you're on approach, then if you select heading, of course, it will select your last heading, and it may be totally different to the direction you're currently going, and then you'll mess up your approach. So when on approach, always syncing the heading, and when you're reaching final approach, heading mode, and then enable and then change the nav source from FMS, which is the flight plan, change it from FMS to probably your VOR1, which will be called Lock 1. And then you will look at the ILS needle, and when you see it approaching the middle, you will select approach mode, and then the plane will align itself with the ILS. But anyway, long story, synchronizing heading bug is quite important in this plane. And again, a button pushed by accident. It's the gear this time. This would be a serious incident if this would happen in real life. This usually, something happens usually when I'm switching to my right screen. So I click my right screen, and then for some reason I'm clicking a button. Very annoying. Let's pretend this did not happen. Well, we cross Austria in a few minutes. Then we'll cross Italy, go a little bit over Slovenia, then Italy again for our final destination. Ronci de Legionari, whatever that means. Probably just a city name. Weird city name. Synchronizing the heading book. What I find a bit strange is that the top of descent we'll reach in 12 minutes, and then in 15 minutes we'll reach the airport. That doesn't seem correct. So let's find out what's going on here. Top of descent should be at about 117 miles. 3 times the 37 of our altitude. That's our estimated top of descent. Just 111 miles. We should start it already. There's something wrong with the top of descent. Let's get descending. So we should be at minimum flight level 110. Yeah, I've just set our transition level, which is usually given by ATC, but we're offline. And then, of course, there's definitely something wrong with the top of descent. This is why it's so useful to calculate the top of descent yourself, and so that's how I just figured that something was wrong. Let's get our speed to around, let's say, 290. But looking at the magenta line here, we should reach our still reach our altitude in time. We'll reach flight level 110 at around Tibro, which is the minimum altitude. Landing elevation should be 40. Yeah, landing elevation set. Fuel is fine, TCAS fine, radar fine, gas checked, landing data, approach briefing, descent checklist completed. Let's check our next minimum altitude. So after we have reached Tibro, from Lupin we could descend to flight level 185. Right. And later we should be at 5, maximum 5,000, minimum 3,000. Oh no, Lyra is here, 3,000 feet. Okay. Beautiful mountains. Let's decrease our descent rate for a bit. Actually, we need to stay at flight level 110 until Lupin. So let's reduce our speed, our vertical speed, so that we reach 11,000 around Lupin. 1.5. .5 should be fine. Keep speed in check. Our first speed restriction is at Leira 185 knots. Getting to your assigned altitude and assigned speed is the most difficult challenge flying this airplane, because you have to manage it all manually. Below 10,000 we of course need to be at 250 or below 250 anyway. So let's start managing that right now. It's only 3,000 feet to go. We are now visible on the star map. Okay, we are now almost at Lupin, after which can descend to flight level 85. Let's set that and start descending now. Oh, I see. Our top of descent was not correctly calculated because there was a discontinuity. Yeah. Anyway, let's also start thinking about reducing our speed to 185. Because 5. Now we can be at 5,000. feet. Let's strap in the passengers, get the landing lights on. Why are we turning to the left? That is not clear to me. Lera is to the right. I don't get it. No, something went something went really wrong here. Okay, let's set our local pressure. Okay. Hold that Lyra. Yeah, that's now. Now the hold is there. Not sure what went wrong there. We are now at 185 knots. Let's get flaps 8 out at 5,000 feet. And let's enter this hold. And descend to 3,000 feet. And then when we feel comfortable, we will exit it. I'll have to find out how. And activate our approach for landing through ILS. Runway 09. Or was it 19? Runway 9, yep. Let's get our descent going to 3,000 feet. Keep managing our speed, of course. 185 knots. Yep, a conservative 700 feet per minute should be fine. Okay, so now we have entered the hold. No, we have not. What is this plane trying to do? So it should cross here and then intercept the right. It's just going from left to right, swinging. It doesn't know what to do. Yo. We are flying the hold in the opposite direction. It is, however, correctly set up. Let's see where it goes. No, it keeps swinging. It's not gonna enter the hold. This is so weird. Let's go to heading mode. Yeah, let's go to heading mode. and see what happens. If we fly it manually, we will now fly back to Lera manually and then enable the nav mode again and see what happens then. If it still swings back and forth, then we'll just ignore it and exit it. Actually, we should be flying over here. Yes. And then hold at... So let's get back to nav mode. It should now fly to this PQ and then to Lera. Yes. But let's hold. How does this work? How can I fly or hold? Hold at Lera, exec. Or is this a confirmation? Huh. Hold that, yes. Lera. At 88 degrees, please. No. 88 and then left turn. Yes, enter, exit. Yeah. And what? Is it gonna work now? So I guess I had better looked it up in the manual. But now it does seem to have entered this holding pattern. At the bank angle. Get speed in check. So, all right, we've got that working. But it messed up the approach. So Lera is in there. Yeah, you know, I'm just gonna fly this manually. What is it doing now? Already turning. I don't understand, but screw it. Let's check the ILS frequency, which is 11075. Yeah, that's tuned. And the course is 880. So let's get heading to 880. I mean 088. Absolutely terrible. What is it trying to do? Is it gonna turn left or right? Oh, it's gonna it's gonna swing again from the left to the right. Okay. Let's get to heading mode. And let's fly manually. How can I exit the hold? Do I click it? Do I delete it? Yeah. Okay, that's it. And now there are still waypoints in here on the flight plan, but not visible on the legs page. Whoa. That's pretty weird. Okay, so I want to go back to Lera. How can I go back? Okay, screw this. Just doing it manually.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to land. Please remain seated until we have stopped.
Ooh, speed, speed, speed. So we'll go back to Lera. We'll enable our ILS now. And when we are close and the needle starts moving, I'll enable approach mode and we'll just land. Why am I stalling? What is going on? It's not respecting my altitude. Jesus. What is going on? Now I'm way too high. Yeah, get the gear down. Get full flaps. 141 knots. Have to get my vertical speed increased to catch up with the glide slope. This is very, very messy. Very messy. Actually, I'm just going to land this manually. We are way too high.
Sink rate.
Yes, I know.
Sink rate. 1,000. Sink rate.
Obviously,
Up.
in real life you wouldn't do this.
Sink rate. 500. 400. Sink rate. 300. 200. Sink rate. 100. Sink rate. 50. 40. 30. 20.
Retard. Flare.
10.
Land. I'm not using thrust reversers. So that was a pretty messy approach.
Please remain seated until the aircraft has come to a complete stop.
Retracting flaps. Okay, going straight. Disable flight director. Would it be possible that I did not disable the APU? And that I therefore had less engine available during approach? That is very much a possibility. Well, luckily I have this recorded and I can check it afterwards, but I think... I'm not sure. Get lights off. Strobe off. Oh, I can't taxi here. Another strange thing. Lots of strange things going on. Let's get to this gate here. Oh, I need this yellow line, I suppose. That's the... not perfect, but good enough for me after this flight. Let's shut down the engines. Cut off fuel flow. Disable, no, let's enable, still enable hydraulics.
Ladies and gentlemen, the door is open. Please make your way to the exit and please make sure you have all your personal items and carry-on luggage.
Strobe beacon, strobe is off, beacon is now off, taxi lights off. Release the seat belts. Smoking sign can be off. Emergency lighting can be off. Probe heating off. Windshield warming off. Transponder off. ADIRS off. Unload the passengers, unload cargo. Unload it. It's too bad that Aerosoft hasn't given the feature to automatically start unloading passengers and cargo in a way that would resemble reality. It's a bit silly that you just have to put in the numbers to 0 and then set payload in simulator. It's not very realistic. All right, so passengers have been offloaded. Logo lights off.
Captain, all passengers have left the plane.
Perfect. Hydraulics off. APU off. Packs off. Circulation off. External power off. Battery off. And there we are.